Hello, Internet Capitalists, to episode 23 of The Big Show. I'm coming to you from Bloomington, Indiana, and Benjo is in the Big Apple, home of BlackRock, the center of crypto, New York City. Benjo, how you doing today?
Pretty good. It's the New York Marathon, so people are out and about doing that. There is NFL football on, which is interesting, and then of course the election is coming up, so a lot going on. And sadly, the sun sets at 4:49 p.m. here in New York. It is quite sad. It's that time of year.
Yes, the daylight savings time ended, I guess. Is that what we say? It ended, or did it begin?
I don't know. I don't
Doesn't
know
seem like
the
we're saving
what's
any
going on.
daylight, so let's say it ended.
Yeah, that's actually, some people have a strong political view on daylight savings, thinking it should be abolished. So I don't have a strong opinion, but in times like these, I think it makes sense. I don't think we'd get nearly this level of early sunset.
No, we would not. We would not. All right, so this week in the markets, I think we had probably, I'm going to guess, the markets were once again a nothing burger from when we started the show 23 weeks ago till now. I'm guessing everything is exactly in the range it was the entire time. Benjo, can you pull something up there with, I guess we start with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. It's pretty crazy. Like, this is the least volatile that crypto's been since I've been in it ever, and it's funny. It really is since we started the show. It's like
Yeah.
we had that run up, and then like we've just stayed in this range, really. So I'll pull up the Bitcoin chart here, and currently we are sitting at 68,000 US dollars per Bitcoin, and
The,
here's the range. Really, here's the range. We had the ETF bull, and now we're still in the range. Albeit at the upper end, it feels better than when you're like down here, kind of trending down, look pretty bad. Kind of stabilized, but still in the same range.
yeah. I think earlier this week when we were at that little peak, I think there were people that always were saying we will never see Bitcoin under 70,000 again in our lifetime.
Oh, that's a meme. That's a meme.
Oh, it is.
It's not
Uh,
serious. Yeah, that's a meme.
uh,
People just say it. I mean,
why?
I eventually they might be right, but it's just that's a thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's sarcastic.
all right. I didn't know that. That's why I'm the oldest man in crypto. No one tells me
Yeah,
shit.
that's okay, and that is also why you missed Peanut Token,
I
which
know.
your co-host
Are we
happily
going to talk
bought.
about Peanut now? Are we going to finish this? Or are we going to talk about Peanut now?
I'll just do the story now because I brought it up.
All right. Well,
If
let me
you
give some background. Let me get a little bit intro for you.
okay,
I don't know very much, but for all of you not in the U.S., evidently there is a squirrel that lives in New York City that was a pet called Peanut.
lived lived
Oh,
in New York.
lived. Ben, why don't you fill us in the details on the untimely death of the Squirrel of America, Peanut?
Yeah, it was really a sinister, unjust death, not just untimely. It was brutal. So really, and I think the internet, I think most people on the internet honestly will know about this, even if you aren't in the U.S. What happened was this guy owned a pet squirrel named Peanut. He'd had the squirrel for 7 years, and for some reason, someone had a complaint, and a government agency showed up to this man's house, stole his squirrel Peanut and his pet raccoon Fred as well, but Fred's getting less of the limelight. Stole Peanut and euthanized Peanut, this guy's pet. They just took it and killed it, and it was quite sad. And this went viral on social media because Peanut was actually a social media star to begin with, because the guy had uploaded videos all across the place, and people were outraged. And then Elon Musk started tweeting about Peanut, and of course, a meme coin called Peanut, ticker PNUT, Peanut, was launched on Solana and Ethereum, and people really got behind the coin, and it had quite the run up, and it is the latest meme coin that everyone is talking about. So that's the TLDR. But RIP Peanut. I'm happy to have been a holder of your token. Not cool what happened. Any
No.
thoughts from your end?
So first off, some thoughts. If he was a 7-year-old squirrel, I think in squirrel years that's like 120. I mean, he was. That is so sad. He was an elderly squirrel that was living out his life in happiness, and they took him and killed him.
Yeah,
Now, the second thing I thought, besides how old the squirrel was, is Fred dead?
I think Fred's dead too. Yep.
They killed Fred?
They killed
Why are
Fred
they
and
killing
Peanut.
people? Why are
I,
they killing these pets?
we don't know. This is where the government is spending some of its time, unfortunately, killing pets.
Are we sure it was the government and not illegal
Yeah,
immigrants?
yeah, we're sure it
That's
was.
a joke.
It
Internet
was.
people, that's a joke.
It was a government agency. Okay, that I don't care about this. That happened. Like there are multiple sources confirming that this happened. Like the mayor of that town confirmed that that thing was happening in Ohio. I'm just gonna
I'm
put that
not.
out there. I don't know
I,
why that's like a that happened.
well, I was just being funny that perhaps it was a legal immigrant dressed as a New York City uh, pound society officer that came into their house. Now, did they come in with arm? Do you know, like with
I
guns?
think they might have. I think they might have. Yeah, I think it was like very forceful entry. I don't know if they had guns and stuff, but it was like a huge team just into this raided this guy's home.
Wait a minute.
Effectively, they had
Time
a
out.
warrant. They raided his home. Yeah.
Like this is like a huge team, SWAT, beat on the door, come in, take Peanut. I guess he lived in a cage. Did Peanut and Fred live in cages?
No, they were like he was out and about. Like if you watch the videos on social media, the guy would just be like Peanut would be like on his shoulder while he was doing stuff, and yeah, they
Are
were just
you
like
kidding me? And they killed him.
yeah, and they killed him. They just killed it. It was like legit. It was not a wild animal. It was like fully 100% this guy's pet. It's like someone coming into your house and killing your pet. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
There's going to be some blowback for the peanut killers.
Oh, there is. That's why it was a huge thing. Like Elon tweeted about it all day on Saturday. He would not stop. He kept tweeting memes about Peanut, Avenge Peanut, and like it is a good metaphor for like this bureaucratic middle management government sector for them taking on tasks that no one wants them to take on, and so that's what people were using it as an emblem of that.
So, okay, wait. Did a judge sign this warrant?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Like, can you
Must
imagine a
have. I don't.
judge sees a warrant? We're going to confiscate a squirrel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But that really that took the internet by storm. That took crypto by storm. It's currently like the meme coin of choice. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
happy that
Peanut.
worked out. I'm happy Peanut's death brought some money to your pocket. So
It
I'm
did.
sorry about Peanut and Fred. Fred's getting screwed here, but I'm sorry about
Yeah.
Fred as well.
Yeah, I think Fred has a coin too. I don't know. I don't know how that's doing, but that did happen in the markets, and everyone's talking about that right now. So had to shout out Peanut. But let's take a look. As for the rest of the market, let's just take a look at ETH, and then we can kind of give our takes
Okay.
about where we are in the market and what we think like this election really is about. And here's a zoomed out chart on Ethereum, and like to be completely honest, it looks like pretty good still. I don't like. Yes, this was a tough trade down. It's been lagging the market, but overall, we look like we're in a decent place. And right here, we had this little dip before that 2021 bull market. Who knows? Maybe we look back and this was that mini dip, and this is just a longer extension of that bull run. So we'll see. Any thoughts on the Ethereum chart before we continue?
It looks a lot like last week. That's it. No, no real thoughts. I mean, yeah. There's some, nice news this week. I don't think we're going to talk much about, but more. Tokenization is still going strong. Every week there's another big player that's tokenizing something. I think that's good. Continues to find footing. We'll just keep moving on there.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the note here is that more of an investment long term. Like ETH takes a longer time to play out. Like if you want to make shorter term money, make a trade. Probably ETH is not your coin, but in terms of like, I feel pretty comfy with a long term ETH bag that I just don't want to touch much, and that's I think the story here. And
Yep.
call it cope if you want to call it cope, but it is what it is. I feel comfortable with the asset, and this is where we're sitting. And honestly, all things considered, I'm not feeling too bad. And of course, it depends if you bought the top here. It's not great, but it is what it is. And to transition into the forward-looking takes here,
Yep.
what do you think about the markets? How do you think they're gonna react to the presidential elect either way? And I'll just start by giving my take here. I think we're kind of in this holding pattern, and we have been really just before the election. I think people are gonna know what they're going to get after the election. We'll trade either one way or another shortly after, but then ultimately the stability of knowing who we have in office is going to be good. So that's my base take. But from your side?
Exactly the same. I think there's going to be a giant move one way or the other, depending on who wins. And then it's probably going to all come back to about where we are right now, because there'll be some certainty. You know, I can't imagine Gensler's going to stick around. I can't imagine that's going to happen with either one. That would just seem to be stupid. Also, in the macroscopic sense, there's going to be tailwinds here in the U.S. Employment figures are getting softer, which lets the Fed have an easier time justifying continued rate cuts. That will happen whoever is the president. So I think that after a move big one direction or the other, it'll probably stabilize, and we'll get back to more macroscopic factors pushing the market. And I think the knowledge of who's the president here will, no matter who it is, that knowledge just certainty is a positive. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I think the one thing to note here that's interesting though on the rate cut thing, I think we are like it's a slightly different climate than we've been in before because we are going to get rate cuts. But again, you have to remember the Fed controls short rates, so like they move this overnight borrowing
Yeah.
rate, the federal funds rate that banks trade between each other, and that really only impacts like the far left side of the yield curve. So that's like the short like treasury bills, the 2 years, the 1 year, and that's where most of the impact will be. And it does not directly impact as closely the long rates. And the long rates are actually staying up more so than would be expected because people are demanding higher interest rates for lending to the U.S. government, just because mostly because of the state of the U.S. dollar. And I think like the massive amount that it's being debased over time and our federal deficit, they are requiring a higher return to hold this debt, basically. So what that could mean is that we will see a lot of quantitative easing from the Fed, aka the Fed is going to be the new marginal buyer of those longer-term treasuries. So that is basically directly injecting cash into the markets as opposed to like just a proxy for liquidity, which is the lower rates on all ends of the spectrum. So that actually, in my opinion, could be even more bullish this cycle if the demand for the long rates isn't nearly where it should be, and we kind of resort to more quantitative easing. So that's something to keep your eye on, and that I was reading about recently.
Let me get this straight. The Fed goes in to open market operations and as an entity starts buying U.S. government debt cheaply or at low rates, which has the effect to push long rates down as well.
Exactly, and they'll enter those longer dated markets because on those like on that end the rates are going to be restrictively high. So like if you want to keep the U.S. government wants to keep like a reasonable borrowing rate so the deficit just doesn't explode on interest payments, there's like a theoretical a limit on how high that can go. And like although it's like an independent entity, the Fed will work to keep that below there. So if the demand isn't there at this rate, typically what happens is that the market rate goes up, so people end up buying all the bonds. But that's not going to work because it's going to explode our deficit. So whatever that rate is, I don't know what it is, the Fed's going to come in then and buy all of that, and that is going to inject a lot of liquidity into the system that otherwise would not be there. So
and they get their money by printing more money, basically.
yeah, it's not even. They say printing money. What happens is that they buy these T bonds from the market and just increase the number in like the bank's bank account. They're not buying these from like individuals, from institutions. They literally just increase the number. They type on a keyboard, increase the number, and that's how they print money. It's not. There's nothing about it that is like tangible or real. It's literally it's literally a guy, a system, a few checks and balances, and they get the security and it's on their balance sheet, and then they just increase a number in the counterparty's bank account.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. And then what happens is those are like commercial banks, so they have a lot more cash on their balance sheet, and like what do they do with idle cash? They reinvest it, and whenever the shorter rates, let's say, are just returning lower because those rate cuts did take effect, then that capital gets a little more risk on, and they'll make more loans. People have more money in their pockets, and that really is what restarts the expansion cycle in like a typical market-based system. So I don't know. It's pretty bullish to me. I think like the setup that we have is like fundamentally not great for the value of the dollar, and we do need to get this debt thing under control. And we'll see like whoever the president is does have a big impact on that because I think there's more uncertainty with like a Trump presidency in terms of like how they're going to change government spending and all of
Yeah.
this. But regardless, I think it's bullish for crypto markets.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm really bullish, and I think that like most of the market is like in all the smart money that you hear, people I listen to that I think are good in markets are
Yeah.
just super bullish 2025, and I can't disagree there. I think like overall it's super bullish, and then that gets you into. I wanted to bring this up. What sectors within crypto you want to look at? Because like as a crypto person, like a normal person will ask you, like, should I invest in crypto right now? The answer on my end would be yes. Like that's what I'm doing. I would buy more crypto now. I think it's a good time. But then if you're like really in crypto, what sectors are you looking to get like outperformance? So what are you looking to buy? And I
Yep.
think that's an interesting conversation. So any thoughts on your end there? And I know you're big on like the DeFi stuff, and you really like your yield and
Yes.
holding some base assets. But like, what's your strategy going into 2025?
Yeah. So my strategy now is a vertical integrated strategy on the super chain, specifically with Mode. And essentially from Aerodrome bribes, staked LP for Aero, down through staked L2 token Mode, down through bribe voting on Mode to protocol level incentives is basically what I have primarily invested my money in, along with stakes, just staking only on some specific protocols that I trust the founders for. The Ironclad lore, Mantle guys. Now, having said that, the narrative that is starting to happen that I really, really like is this AI stuff. And I hesitate to call it artificial intelligence because I don't really think it is yet. I'm going to call it autonomous intelligence. And this is funny you bring this up. On the way to Michigan State yesterday, where our Hoosiers won after scoring 47 straight points and are now 9-0. On the way up in the car, this was bad. I actually at a coffee stop started reading about some autonomous intelligence by a company called Giza, where they basically are launching now, it's available, a yield optimizer that will automatically move your USDC among three protocols on Mode, Ironclad, Ionic, and Layer Bank, for you to basically optimize your yield. And their back testing of the strategy generated something like a 2x normal return, which was meaning it went from like 3 or 4% to 8 to 12%, something like that. Okay. Uh, Very simple strategy. They're testing it in a very small market, but that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in. Now, not so much for USDC. I'm going to try it. Not so much for that, but it's a great first case because, and we've talked about this, it's literally impossible on my vertically integrated SuperChain strategy to figure out what the optimal yields are. There's too many variables for a person to figure out, and they all change. So this sort of first very simple step, I'm very bullish on seeing how that works. To not only allow retail to easily use crypto, like the guys with Codex and what they're doing, but also, I'm not a degen really. I'm not that smart about it, but certainly I have some understanding. And something like what Giza's doing will help me just manage my portfolio in a more time efficient way. So that's what I'm really, really interested in. I am bullish on that, making things easier. And my overall strategy is this vertically integrated within the super chain because I think it's going to be a great, great thing. And Ben, before you go on, the next two topics before we get back to what you're doing, Kraken, their L2 is going to be on the super chain, and they got a massive amount of op to do that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Coinbase, who everybody knows owns Base, which is probably the preeminent super chain L2 at this moment. Ben, what do you think about that strategy?
I think it's a good strategy. I think like it depends who you're talking to though. Like I think your strategy is good for someone who really likes the tech and who like has a sizable portfolio and likes these yields. But it's like it's different, right? A lot of people are not in crypto for like a boosted yield, even if that yield is like 40, 50% APY. They're in it for like 3, 4, 5, 10x's, right? So
Yeah.
that's a fundamental difference between like the nature of crypto investor you are. So you just have to keep that in mind. Um, the reason why I like the mode strategy specifically is that I actually think it has both these characteristics. So just for reference, the mode token itself is sitting at like a $25 million market cap, $100 million FTV, which is substantially below comparable chains in terms of like TVL and usage and all those metrics. So I just think it's undervalued, and if it was just repriced, that would be like an easy 2-3x. And that's one. And then also, I think it is really ahead on fostering like this AI-fi narrative, and AI agents are going to be a narrative, as you mentioned. And I think that will be the primary one, at least for a time in this bull cycle. And they've gotten out ahead of it. So they were planning this for a while. So they have a lot of projects building in the space already and aren't really playing catch up. So it has that element. But then at the same time, because of the vote escrow voting model, the VE mode that you're talking about, which for people not familiar, it really is similar to like a velodrome or aerodrome emissions direction system, except for the chain itself. And that just based on the first epic is giving me somewhere around like 100% APY, like around there based on everything included. And that's not on a small amount of capital. Like it's a substantial amount of capital. So like you can get high APYs, but usually you're getting it in very low quality tokens. Or if you try to size up in the position, you're going to get diluted. This has been probably the best opportunity in terms of like being able to get those APYs and the potential token upside on a sizable amount of capital that I've seen. So that's why I like that play specifically. And then outside of that, I do think that the best area to pay attention to is still AI-Fi. And you saw like the AI tokens explode earlier in the cycle for a period of time, although they have traded down a bit. I don't necessarily, I think some of those will continue to do well, like Tau and a few others. But I also think that there's going to be new sorts of coins and tokens that come about from this AI-Fi narrative, whether it's like a meme coin or a utility coin or something like that an AI agent makes, like we already saw happen, is one avenue. But I think there's also going to be tokens that are integrally tied to the projects themselves. So like you mentioned that Giza project, I know there's a few others. They will have tokens and they will be very firmly in that AI agent category as opposed to like a generalized AI project category.
Yeah.
And I think those are the ones to look at.
Yeah, I agree. The whole generalized AI token like narrative that was going on a few months ago, I never got that. I'm like, what are these? What specifically are you doing?
Well, there's a few. BitTensor is interesting, actually. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of it is
Is
BS.
that
Like,
AI?
there was what?
Is BitTensor AI?
Yeah,
I thought that was just like
it's like a
resource
decentralized.
sharing.
No, it's like a decentralized. People pool their resources, but it's to essentially. I honestly don't understand it that well, but it's essentially to work on like AI algorithms and to contribute resources towards refining them. Basically, it's not just like sharing your compute with a network to earn money.
I gotcha. Okay.
So it is AI, but Tensor is definitely like it's legit. I think it has good traction. Like that's blue chip AI. You probably get a decent multiple out of that. But yeah, again, I think like these AI agents really is the narrative, and I think there are going to be ones that really take off, and the ones that gain traction. And again, like I'm looking to the SuperChain for this. Like Coinbase and their development team on the base chain with Mode, like SuperChain is very strong on this, and they've taken like a strong lead in my opinion in terms of developing this, and they've been early. So I think we're well positioned just to like pay attention to what happens there. Use the projects, like allocate some amount of money to just use these projects, see what happens. And I think that's like a good strategy for that upside. Outside of that, I don't know. Like there's the meme coin sector everyone keeps talking about, but it's not really like you can buy some of like the meme coins that have achieved escape velocity, but like they're already in the top like 100 and like yeah, maybe you get like a higher multiple out of those, but it's kind of just like hit or miss. Like I can't have that much conviction on a meme coin, so I don't know. Like I think you'll have some success just like saying a meme and like buying one every once in a while, but it's more of a gamble, obviously. So yeah, in terms of other sectors, I'm not sure outside of this AI agent one. That's my highest conviction play, I'd say.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Well, I like that. I mean, I think kind of all summer was sort of just a drag. There wasn't a lot going on, and now it seems like there's some cool stuff that's happening. And you know what? Maybe it'll work, maybe it doesn't. But one thing I've said this on the discords and stuff. One thing I like is these guys are trying new things that may be the solution, maybe not, but they're certainly trying to move the needle forward.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think like a lot of this too is like still like very early ground level stuff. Like if you think about it, you think about like people always talk about retail, right? And it's like if you talk to any normal person, they don't even really understand their finances. Like they like having like a plan and like just like investing a fixed amount of money every month into like
Yeah,
something that's like set up for them. And like that's what they do. Like the idea that people are gonna like even if you do have agents that like someone's gonna be like talking with our agents, directing it, like it's like fairly niche. And I think the goal is to like really appeal, like not necessarily to retail. And maybe there's other verticals in crypto like social and others that really can use this infrastructure
yeah,
to like improve upon like web technologies. But from a finance perspective, like I'm of the opinion that like we are never going to onboard those people actually. So like you should just stick to like talking to finance people. Like the goal is
mm,
to like get embedded into finance. It's not your everyday Joe. And I think I
yeah,
maybe some people disagree with me on that, but I feel like that's probably the case because you just talk to a regular person, like they don't like finance. They don't find it interesting. They don't want to touch it. They want to have a fixed amount of investments, not worry about it. Goes up, but goes up, goes down. They get like 7 to 12% a year.
yep.
Normal people love that. Like that's all they want. So
That's it. I think that's kind of realistic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think just keeping that in mind is always. But in the meantime, I do like seeing the experimentation for finance nerds.
Yep.
It is exciting, and I think there's going to be like some durable tech that's developed here.
You know, an odd outcome of that is as crypto's used more and more in say, the developing world, that people there, because they want to raise their standard of living more and they're not happy with the 7% return, they may become more savvy in what ends up being traditional finance as they get older and move up the wealth ladder because they've had to kind of scramble to get there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely
So,
true. That's a fair point. And I think that actually, to kind of just add a caveat, maybe a counterpoint to mine, is that I think there is a cohort of Gen Z, like people, especially like young men my age
yeah,
and like a little bit younger. You see this with like sports betting and stuff like
yeah,
that. There's a huge percentage of people who feel like to get ahead, they have to like take more significant risks. So they're like day trading stocks, and like a lot of them do that. A lot of them sports bet. A lot of them do crypto. And I think that more people on a relative basis, especially young men in America, so let's leave out developing countries for now, that is going to be a driver. And like we saw that in 2021, and that probably comes back. And like you see people, see the polling coming in this presidential election, like people feel like things are more expensive, like they're not getting paid as much, housing is unaffordable, like they feel like they can't get ahead, and that really gives rise to this type of behavior. So I think that's a trend that's going to continue.
yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Um, so, do you want to talk a little bit about Coinbase now, real quick?
Yeah. What was the stat there? They reported their
So, earnings
Q3
fell
earnings.
short. Two things. Earnings fell short because of, I think they said, weak trading demand over the summer. And the next day they said we're buying back $1 billion of our stock because we feel undervalued. Um, yeah, there's the first part of that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like it was down like 12% in a day, which is crazy for a stock of that
Yeah.
size. Like stocks don't move that much typically, which is funny. Um, but yeah, single biggest day drop in over 2 years. Traders are confident that the stock will make a strong comeback in 2025. I'm probably in that camp as well.
So that 179.25 number, that is still, let me do the math here, about 20% up from February of this year. So it's still a really good return.
Yeah, yeah, it's still good. I think there's a lot of upside left in this one too.
Yeah.
Like it was trading at like double its current value in 2021. There was a lot of mania going on there, but they also did not have as many lines of business as they do now. Like it was not the same company, and they've made a lot of
Right.
strides. They've added like a lot of on-chain features, like the Base L2, like Coinbase Wallet, like all of these things.
All
And
the
I think
custody.
yeah, all the custody solutions, they're like increasingly embedded both in like the TradFi back end of the system and on the retail front end. I just think it's great stock. Like they CEO Brian Armstrong, can't hope for a better CEO to run the company. He seems like he's not going anywhere. He's mission driven. He's still like pretty young. It's
Yep.
I think Coinbase is a good stock for sure. Not financial advice, but I might have to buy some coin here on this dip because I think this is going to end up being a pretty good one.
Yes. Yes. I agree with you. I am a coin holder, so I'm holding, still holding it.
Yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. I guess I'll just let's see this. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy overtakes Coinbase in market cap. That's actually crazy. I believe Saylor just bought like billions more in
Yes.
Bitcoin again.
Yeah.
Like the man is just on a tear. He's up, I believe, $8 billion in profit
Yeah.
on Bitcoin through MicroStrategy, of course. But he just keeps on getting leverage to buy more Bitcoin. Like I think, however this turns out, is going to be very interesting. I think like books will be written about, maybe a movie about Saylor is warranted, but he has conviction, and you got to give it to the man.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
And it seems like every 2 or 3 weeks there's a new, you know, basically every time MicroStrategy runs out of someone else's money to use to buy Bitcoin with, they get more of someone else's money to keep doing it.
yeah, 100%. I think like it's a very easy way to get leveraged Bitcoin exposure too. Like the stock is literally just leveraged Bitcoin
Right.
now, and I believe actually they just introduced a product that is like a 2x leveraged MicroStrategy stock product, and you can trade this now. So you're basically trading like 5x Bitcoin through this 2x MicroStrategy stock, which is hilarious.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, oh, here's an interesting chart. Let's take a look at this. MicroStrategy expressed in shares of Coinbase, and it's just ballooning after Coinbase sells off there from the missed earnings, and I guess increased leverage showing out in the chart here. So that's pretty interesting.
Yep.
But all right, that's cool. What's next on the list?
Immutable. You want to talk about Immutable a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't see. Well, they got served a Wells notice from the SEC, of course, and let's see. Okay, I'll just read this real quick. The firm's IMX token is down 13%, and Immutable is like a ZK powered gaming project. They actually have a ZK EVM chain for gaming built using Polygon's SDK, and they have like another gaming focused chain that's just, I believe, their own custom build. So they've been around a while. They're one of the strongest Web3 gaming companies, and they just got issued a Wells notice by the US SEC. The company said the notice was received hours after the company's first interaction with SEC. So again, no warning. This is regulation by enforcement. Gary just comes out of the woodwork, hands you a Wells notice, and then goes from there. And I'll read kind of what Immutable said about
Yeah.
the action. So it says, with this action, the SEC is continuing to indiscriminately assert that tokens are securities. So going after that again. While not specified in the notice, IMX believes its claims are targeting the listing and private sales of IMX in 2021. So that's the
2021?
TLDR. Yes.
Who gives a shit?
Apparently the SEC. I don't know, but yeah, this is pretty dumb because again, they go after like legitimate. The SEC does two things. They go after like legitimate projects, the biggest, most legitimate ones like Uniswap, Immutable, all the other ones, or they go after some random one that's low hanging fruit that doesn't have any resources to defend themselves
Yeah.
to set precedent and go from there. But this is just like another example. IMX is like a historically good actor. They haven't been shady. Like they've done everything right, and the SEC just goes after them. So it's just another example of that. I don't understand it. Gary Gensler might go down in history as the worst SEC commissioner, worst public servant of all time. The man has no scruples about him, and he is a very, very dishonest man. Hopefully, he gets fired.
Yeah. It seems like he could be the guy that when history looks back in 100 years and like, what was this guy doing? Why was he trying to stop this? Because all the
Well,
context will be gone. There'll be no
yeah,
context in 100 years.
he's also the one who like it's just dumb stuff too. Like he's saying like we have a law from 1913 called the Howey test that should delegate how we're regulating digital
Yeah,
assets in 2024 and beyond. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like who is using a 100-year-old document that was a ruling based on something completely unrelated to the sale of digital assets.
right.
Why let that regulate this new technology? It's just dumb all around. And he's a smart guy too, which makes it egregious. Like if he's dumb and doesn't mean it, it's one thing because it's like it's better to assume ignorance rather than malice. But we know for a fact that he's not ignorant and he's a very smart guy, so it's obviously malice, and he just does it over and over again.
Well, 2 months from now, come Christmas, he may be putting his resume together. I guess not
Yeah,
Christmas, but after January 20th.
yeah, I hope so. I think like there's 100% chance he's gone with Trump. Kamala, I don't think like he's not high on the list that people are saying. Like I don't think he'll have a position, but it seems like he's gonna be on his way out because he's just not popular. Like he's not popular amongst crypto people, but also he's fallen out of favor with a lot of most Republicans, honestly, and a lot of
Yeah,
Democrats even too. He's just not overall very popular.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
So yeah,
All right, well, Ben, we talked about Kraken, and not much really else to talk about besides they're launching their new chain. And I talked about Aerodrome a little bit, and I don't think we need to get in deeply right now to the mechanics of Aerodrome. But I'll keep you updated on my activities there. You personally and our internet capitalists, how things are going there over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's all I had on my list.
yeah, I don't really I'm trying to think. We have the election on Tuesday. Probably some short term volatility there in terms of who wins, who loses. But bottom line is that 2025 is shaping up to be very bullish. I think the tech developments are interesting again. The market feels generally less apathetic than it did over the summer, so that's probably good. So overall, feel pretty decent.
Excellent. That's excellent. And next week, you're going to be out here. So we're going to have to, maybe we can finally film a show from the parking lot. That would be cool. An on site remote location for our filming.
Yeah, I feel like yeah. I mean, we could attempt it. We could attempt it.
Okay. All right. We'll attempt it. All right, buddy. Well, that's all I have. Internet Capitalists, have yourself a good week.
All right, sounds good. See you guys later.
Bye bye.